And let's bring it in here. This is Steve Green, Choice Weekly live presentation. Talking today about transition time. Transition time. I'm going to get into what this means. I got 5 or 6 points I want to cover. And let's get to it. So transition time, what does this mean? Well, I am in the world of academics. So I am looking at the transition from school time to summertime. So school time to summertime. Hello, parents. How are you? Hello, students. My normal caveat and disclaimer, it's going to be a live presentation. It's being recorded, it'll be re-released. If you somehow come on to the recording, you're tacitly giving your permission to be involved in the final release. Any opinions and information that's discussed here is mine. It's not a sanction by any school authority or government. If you have questions, put them in the comments. I'll show you how to do that in a second right here. If you go to this website, StreamYard.com, StreamYard is the platform I am broadcasting using /Facebook. There's no identification or anything you have to do. If you're watching this on Facebook, just go to this link, maybe to give comments so I can see them and address them. So let's talk about what's important today. I'm Steve Green. My company is Make the Grade. Been in the education world for 36 years. Can you believe it? 24 of them as a private educator and tutor. 12 as a teacher and college instructor, classroom teacher. I'm also the best-selling author of a book, Maximum Education. I have to have one here with me today. Somebody was asking about it last time, so I made sure I had one today. There we go. Yeah, it exists. And I host the Make the Grade podcast. More about that later today. And I am the facilitator and curator of the Make the Grade Success community, and more on that as well. What's our agenda today? What did we learn during the shut-in? Well, SATs and ACTs, what's going on? Summer educational options, the podcast, and an educational workshop I am putting together. I'm looking for speakers and I'm looking for input. And one of my goals always is to try to get feedback and topical suggestions. So let's talk about this. What did we learn during the shut-in? Around March 15th, plus or minus, at least where I live, everything kind of came to a standstill. Not immediately, but schools basically got shut down. Some really didn't do anything for a month after they closed, between just figuring it out and spring breaks and teachers sort of kind of figuring out what they were going to do. But many of the things that surfaced, and I've done a lot with this publicly and privately with families, is established structures and established goals. And what I came up with was a system of 5 structures you need for home learning. And we quickly realized this is not limited to the last 3 months. It's not limited to what I'm going to call the shut-in phase. These are things that make sense all the time. And I've done a whole podcast episode about this. But what I want to do is just recap them because I think they're really important. And I think it's a good idea as we go into the next year. And we don't even know what that's going to bring yet. It's possible we could still be shut in September. I don't want it to be personally. I don't think anybody does. But it's possible. So here they are. Number 1, physical. You need a good physical structure where you're going to do your work. And all these structures are referring to accomplishing education and academics at home. You need a good physical structure. It has to be quiet, well lit, space to work, to have your computer, whatever you're going to use, consistent space, physical structure. 2, you have to have time management. Time management, one of the huge tenets in the book. How are you going to manage your time? You have to have academic structure. Where are you going to get your information from? Is the teacher or the school assigning it? Is it something you have to generate yourself? How's that going to work? You need accountability. By definition, school creates some level of accountability because you have deadlines. Homework is due at a certain time, you have tests at a certain time, you have quizzes at a certain time. But we were lacking that. I provided that with my students and the kids I work with and families I worked with, but often the parents were really forced to impose this. And the last piece is support. When you need help, where you're going to get it. And I always suggest knowing that ahead of time. Always suggest that. You don't want to get stuck and have a small issue become a medium-sized issue and then a large issue because you didn't know where to get help. First line of support may just be your friends, maybe teachers, maybe other teachers beside your own teacher, maybe tutors, maybe the internet. But you want to know what it is going in. So just to recap, 5 structures: physical structure, time structure, academic structure, accountability structure, and support structure. I spent a lot of time, probably 150 hours over the last 3 months or so, helping families establish these. And universally, they're telling me that they liked it, it helped them, and it created a better academic experience. So let's move on. Big question on people's minds: the SAT, the ACT, what the heck is going on with them? I did a big presentation May the 28th on this. It is on my website. It's on my YouTube channel. If you want to check it out, I can put links to that. But basically, as of now, they're basically back to normal. And I put that in quotes specifically because it's not exactly perfect yet. They're still settling in. The issue is still the proximity and social distancing and trying to find a place you can get 2, 3, 500 people in the same room to take a test, or same building to take a test. These dates here are test dates moving forward that I know are planning to happen. ACT in July, September, October, and December. SAT August, September, October, November, and December. Now, the reason I have that SAT September in red is because that's a new added test that was not originally in the plan. The College Board, the administrators of the SAT added that basically to compensate for the tests that were missed in May and June, and in some cases March. Where we are in Pennsylvania, at least Southeast Pennsylvania, students were missing 3 tests, potential test dates, not 2. In fact, the shut-in happened almost exactly the date of the SAT in March. So here's another update. And again, I have talked about this, but I want to bring it to people's attention. There will be no online-based SAT at this point in time. There was discussion about it. There was some idea they might put one together. There was an online version of the AP exams this year. It was not without issues. It was not without challenges. And I think that maybe was a contributing factor to the test company not wanting to move ahead with virtual SATs. They cited specifically the inability to guarantee strong, reliable internet connection for the 3+ hours needed for the test, which I think is a legit concern. I don't think it was the only one, but it is what it is. Secondly, the ACT has long announced they will be moving to a new or an optional sectional format starting in September. So let me explain what this means. The SAT, you need to take the whole test. You got to take the reading, the writing, both the math. It's approximately a 4-hour experience, and you do that in one sitting, and there's no other way around it. The essay, optionally, would be at the end of that. The ACT has a similar structure: English, math, reading, science, which you would have to take at least once in its complete format. However, they have come up with an option now where the student could go back and just opt to take some sections. Essentially, what they're doing is they're creating what amounts to a super score system for the ACT. So let me give you an example. Let's say Alice goes in and takes the ACT, does really well in the English and the math, but not as well as she'd like in the reading and science. She could basically keep The English and math scores, go back again and take just the reading and science sections, and then have those scores that could be blended with the test, with the other two scores, the English and the math from a prior test. Now, in order to do this, you must take the full test at least once. So anybody who hasn't taken the ACT at all, you got to still do a full test. This would be in your second, presumably beyond tests. Okay, let's talk about some summer educational options. Okay, first of all, course remediation. Everyone missed a lot of time. Some people missed a month of school. Even when school came back in, wasn't really covering as much as it would have. So one of the things I offer is remediation. We go back, we look at what you missed, we plug the gaps. In some cases, people just weren't really mastering the information anyway. So there's an element of that as well. But the remediation is simply taking the course, going back, plugging holes, making sure of ideas that you would like to get stronger with. Presumably because you're going to be taking a more advanced course in the fall, and you'd want to make sure that you're up for that. Course acceleration, kind of the opposite, but it's also very, very popular. Most often, the reason this is done is to level up. So you might get a student who's taking a regular track or academic track and wants to level up to an honors level. In order to do this, they may have to pass a test or take a certain number of hours in a class and then get approval from the guidance department or the department that they're trying to do it in. So I have done this every year, probably for the last 20 years to some degree with students. Math and science, that's my specialty. So course remediation and acceleration is academically based. There's reasons to do both. Doesn't have to be a long involved process, but you do want it to be targeted, and you want to have goals, and you want to know why you're doing it and what your outcomes are. Again, the main reason for acceleration is to level up. Another very common summer topic is test prep, and we are back with test prep. I have actually 6 people starting this week in the Make the Grade universe. How about that for them? Yeah, let's give them a hand here. There we go. There you go. All your SAT people are committing to it. Well done. But the test prep, the whole idea of test prep clearly is to coach someone, teach them strategies, teach them game plan, teach them whatever they need. So when they go in to take the test, they get their maximal possible score, which in turn gives them the most options that they can have in college acceptances. And that's really the goal. It does take some time. There's no workaround for that. I recommend 8 to 12 weeks. There's an SAT in August, 8 weeks back. We're pretty much right there. Another thing you can do in the summer, especially, well, pretty much primarily if you're a junior, soon to be a senior, is start to get your college applications, your personal statements all together. College applications you can start typically in August. Okay, the Common App goes live August 1st. Can't really submit it at that point, but you can start it. It takes time to work through. A lot of information you got to put there, a lot of information you have to gather, and also personal statements, aka essays. These are all things I help students with. Finally, projects. And this is really a vague thing. I've had parents come to me, and in fact, one starting today, a student, and they say, well, yeah, my kid, I don't want them bored all summer. I don't want them sitting around doing nothing. What can we do? So I'm putting together a lot of holistic projects where we pick something the student wants to learn, and we combine a whole bunch of different academic disciplines: history, math, science, writing, technology, and we put together a project. If you remember, if you've been a fan, for lack of a better term, of my live broadcasting, I was talking a lot in late March and early April about the baseball project I did with a student, which was very, very successful and effective. And that's the idea: is we pick something the students are interested in, and we work on it. So there's your summer options. Let me just go back and review real quick. What we learned in the shut-in, I'm going to just call the 5 structures of home learning. physical, time, academic, accountability, and support. Talked about what's going on with the SAT and the ACT. Here's some summer opportunities again: remediation, acceleration, test prep, college application work, and projects. And here's just a couple of things I want to reach out. I have talked about the Make the Grade podcast. It is there. Here's the mission. Here's the mission of the podcast: to provide actions for students and parents so they can maximize their education. This is broad-based. Some of these actions are very, very specific. Some are very broad. A lot of them interface with what I cover in the book, that being time management, information management, daily success action plan, all the stuff I preach because it works. Not because it sounds good or whatever. It's because it works. And that's what we want. We want effectiveness. We want efficiency. So part of the podcast is I have reached out to parents and students, and I am interested in basically bringing them onto the podcast, doing a quick conversation / interview, and just getting your experience, positive, negative, neutral, or otherwise, of what went on during the shut-in. What did you learn? What did it do compared to your expectations? Better or worse? I've already done 3 of these interviews. My goal is to do at least 10. So I think it's somebody very telling. And the point is not to just complain about what happened the last 3 months. That can be part of it. The goal is to learn from what happened so we can move forward. So if any parents out there listening or students who want to share their experiences, please reach out. I am setting up times to do these interviews the rest of June and July and August. And we'll just go from there. You'll hear more about this, but that's the goal. Lastly, I am putting together an educational workshop. This will be in either very late August or September, early or mid-September. I am looking for speakers in the educational field. And this can be very broad. Financials. How do you plan for college financially? Psychologists. I have a neurologist, neuropsychologist coming on. He's going to be talking about remediating test anxieties. I'm looking for about 10 to 12 speakers. So if you or anybody you know might be interested in that, please reach out and we'll cover that as well. So more on both of these later. Okay, here's what we talked about today. What we learned in the shut-in. What's going on with the big stakes college admissions test, the SAT and ACT. Summer educational options. The podcast. Would you like to be a guest on the podcast? Share your experiences. And the educational workshop. I'm looking for speakers. I'm looking for input. Excellent. Any questions? This is Steve Green. Make the Grade. My goal, and I do these lives twice a week, is to provide information and actions that parents and students can take to maximize your education. We're coming into the summer. Typically, people aren't thinking education in the summer. I don't blame you. I don't really either as much because I'm working very hard during the year. But that said, there are plenty of things you can do in the summer, and they don't have to be awful, horrible things in order to help with the school year. I just want to check on here and see if there's any questions in the feed, and we'll go from there. How do we get started? It's a common question. Yeah, let me do this here. There we go. This is how you can reach me. And we're coming into a wrap up here. I appreciate everybody's patience and indulgence as we stay on here. I am testing out some new technology. I've got some new microphones, got a new mixing board, has some nice effects on it, like this. The official Make the Grade theme song. Play it in the background a little bit as we're wrapping up. I continue to do live presentations Tuesday at 10, Thursday at noon. I have office hours live online. Also, some daily support meetups, although the daily support meetups are going to taper off as school winds down this week. Please consider the Make the Grade Success community as a 24/7 resource for all things academics. Make the Grade podcast at makethegrade.net. You can get it there. Tremendous resource. And I say that without being conceited or anything, but I've put a ton of time into it. And it really has a lot of information there to help you. There's always tutoring. I'm still offering the unlimited tutoring option that has been popular. So I'm going to carry it through over the summer and the fall. And of course, the personalized home learning plan. So we are going to wind this down. Thank you, Danke. Go, Rob. Agat. Obrigado. Bedank. So on and so on. So let's bring it back here. And again, I'm going to just check for questions one last time. Steve Green with Make the Grade. Again, you should see at the bottom of the screen all the ways you can contact me and get a hold of me. Almost all the questions are the same. How do we get started? How do I know what's best for my child? All starts with a conversation. Happy to do that. Let me know when you want to do that. You can just put it into the chat, or you can direct message me or email me. So we're going to wind this down in a second. Next time live will be Thursday at noon, unless something super earth-shaking in the education world happens, and that warrants going on live again. I'm going to show you a couple things I got. Yeah, there we go. Trying to get with the technology. That's my goal for the summer. My goal, never stop learning, right? Learn how to get better at the technology. And here is how we're going to take this out. Are we ready? Set. There we go.